How school makes kids dumb. A school, no doubt, is an organized place of teaching and learning. Its activities are structured in a way to equip learners with the basic skills and character to make a future for themselves. It might interest you to know that the aim of building a school is to give teaching and learning a formal touch, at the end of which a certificate that proves the completion of studies is issued. With that in mind, schools have become flooded with diverse kinds of individuals with different abilities, all restricted to the same structure, which may overlook the peculiar needs of these different learners. At the end of the designated number of years, based on traditional grades on paper, certificates are awarded, with some individuals being highly regarded as intellectuals more than others. In this video, we'll be sharing with you how school makes kids dumb. If you are new here, consider subscribing so you won't miss other interesting videos like this. School makes kids dumb in the following ways. 1. The creative power in kids is watered down. Apart from contents in the structured syllabus, it is rare for a school to permit any other form of idea from learners. Children are born to be inquisitive and adventurous. Before they started school, they naturally touched, fiddled, and built objects of interest by themselves. There wasn't any system to discourage their thinking and searching prowess. Following their enrollment into a formal school, there is the limited time to accommodate their wandering minds and hands. Rather than being nurtured, they are frowned upon, since some of those inquisitiveness come with probing questions the school and teachers are unprepared for. Armed with the negative response and in a bid to stay out of constant reproof, these children shrink back or feel caged within the school. In extreme cases, they become rebellious towards the school and teachers, an attitude that shows off a silent desire to be heard and be listened to. 2. Kids grade their abilities with the school's scoreboard. The three basic domains of learning include the cognitive, the affective, and the psychomotor domains. The cognitive involves the intellectual ability of a child as seen in learning, memorizing, and sitting for exam based on what his mental ability can offer. The affective domain involves the child's values, skills, character, beliefs, and display of learning through behavioral changes. The child's ability to manipulate objects with his hands dwells in the psychomotor domain. Every child has his areas of strength with respect to these domains. First off, there are children who excel in all three domains. Then there are a whole lot of others who are deficient in one or two domains. Such children are, however, constrained by the school system to compete against those whose natural strength lies in the cognitive domain. Little attention is paid to the affective and psychomotor assessments, with full attention given to the cognitive. In this setting, a lot of these kids find themselves comfortable being in the shadow of the cognitive high flyers, even though they are excellent in other domains. The resultant effect is the carryover of such low thinking of selves into adulthood, where they regard themselves as not smart and fruitful like their counterparts. 3. Failure becomes a term indicating the end of the world. Kids will always be kids. Whatever they are taught, they tend to believe. A school following its straight-cut structure and culture of rules and regulations, pass and fail, reward and punishment, has succeeded in instilling the fear of failure in kids. They are afraid to be the black sheep, to the disappointment of their parents and teachers. They so loathe failure that they don't think they are any good if they score below the average point. Adults who get depressed over failure were nurtured from childhood to see failure as an ugly phenomenon that is undeserving of them. It takes years and series of teachings, reading of motivational write-ups, and counseling to undo what the school has inflicted in the tender hearts of these children. Basically, failure isn't the end of the world. As long as the school system keeps extolling high grades in written exams and looks down on other areas of importance in a child's academic pursuit, the fear of failure will remain imminent in kids. There is no problem with the concept of schooling. However, a formal school with rigid structures that do not focus on individual needs of learners makes kids dumb by restricting them to adhere to every single rule and regulation, by watering down their creative abilities, by limiting kids to think that their abilities are reflected in their grades, subsequently creating in them the fear of failure which is carried into the world outside school. 4. By restricting them to adhere to every single rule and regulation. It is no news that an average formal school has rigid rules and regulations that guide students' actions alongside consequences for breaking them. These laws are set in a manner that makes it impossible to question their relevance in affecting discipline even as students act differently for different reasons. There are rules on classwork, homework, resumption time, the use of school facilities, lesson periods and others. Once a child steps into the school, all he thinks of is to avoid falling into trouble. Most of the time, there isn't any explanation on the rationale behind some of those rules. In schools, passing examination with a certain score is a rule. Mentally, it is a struggle to keep up with the requirements, and slowly, a child loses a huge part of his independent thinking ability. Everything the school says becomes right to be followed. Even those who dare to ask questions are told to just follow the rules blindly for their own good. A school is more interested in protecting its name than in paying attention to the needs of its learners. Though it gives the impression that it is for the service of children, there is virtually nothing done in such regard, given the kind of textbooks, play materials, classrooms, and teachers that every child gets. The children are encouraged to try their best to learn or memorize what they have no interest in, and those who barely pass exams in those uninteresting areas are tagged dullards. Thank you for watching our videos. We'd like to give you another interesting video for you to enjoy next. But before then, our team will be very happy if you can like this video and share it with your friends on social media. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss other interesting videos like this. Look at your screen now to see 2 other videos we handpicked for you to enjoy next. We love you.